remember the first time that I went viral, and it was over 10 years ago, but I remember the feeling. I made this dance video, and I went to bed, and the video didn't have very many views, and then I woke up the next morning, and it had over 1 million views. That feeling that I had was like the highest high that I'd ever felt before. Those of you who have had a video that's gone viral may know what this feels like. It's like this crazy surge of validation from like thousands, from millions of people, and I felt like, I was insecure before. I always wanted to feel special. Well, now I felt special. I felt like I was someone. I was getting recognized. And, I wanted more. I wanted more of that feeling, so I kept making videos, more and more videos. But the high was less. I kept, that high that I felt the first time, I kept trying to recapture it, but I could never quite get that same high when I was making more and more videos. And then comes the hard part. The hard part is when you make something that you are so proud of. You're like, this is so good, I'm so proud of this, is so amazing, and it's totally gonna blow the internet up. And you release it, and then, of course, it flops. And then you start to question everything. Then you're like, was this not good? Am I not good? Does the internet hate me? Does the algorithm hate me? And who am I even more if I can't make content, if I can't do this? I had fallen into a happiness trap. I had started to conflate my self-worth with likes and with views. And that is a formula for unhappiness. We think that more followers will make us happy. And it does, for a little while. It can give us short-term happiness. What it really gives us, though, is dopamine. It's supposed to be a happy crossed out, not happy underlined. And scientists have studied how dopamine works in our brains. And the more you get, the more you want. That's just how dopamine works. And it can never quite be enough. This is also how addiction works in our brains. And I had gotten addicted to chasing those followers. And after years of doing this, riding that high and then crashing down, and riding the high and crashing down again, I had burnt out the dopamine receptors in my brain, and it was all just sort of feeling kind of empty. And it was on one of those days that I was scrolling on Instagram, and I saw this post that I really needed to see, and it was by Hello Fears. And I scrolled all the way down and dug it up. If you create content based on the fear of losing followers, you may end up losing yourself. This was exactly what I needed to hear in that moment to gather up enough courage to be willing to lose followers. Be willing to lose followers, or else you'll lose yourself. I had gotten so afraid of losing my preciously earned followers that I was letting it start to mute me, I would find myself not making things that I wanted to make, things that I thought would be cool, just because I was afraid that it wouldn't do well in the algorithm. And it was then that I realized that if I kept chasing the algorithm at the cost of everything else, if I kept chasing the algorithm, my work would suffer. My quality of work would suffer. But be willing to lose followers, easier said than done. We need it for our job. We need it for brand deals, for opportunities. So what do? So here's a strategy that worked for me. And I call it one for me, one for the crowd. So before I make any video, I decide beforehand. I decide, is this one for me or is this one for the crowd? Yes, I do make things that are crowd pleasers. These are videos that are for the goal of really growing my follower count. But I also get to make stuff that's just for me. I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it for the goal of growing followers. In fact, if I lose followers off those videos, that's okay, because that video was for me. And I tell myself, I'm not allowed to judge myself on the number of views a video gets if in advance I decided I'm just doing this one for me. And it doesn't have to be 1 for 1. You know, maybe it's like 1 for me, 3 for the crowd, or vice versa. Really, it's you decide what ratio makes sense for you, and that ratio can change over the course of your career as your goals change. But for the ones that you do for yourself, the ones for me, how do you stop yourself from feeling bad when it doesn't get enough views? Because every time a video flops, you know, I still feel it. I've spent years trying to figure this out. I feel like I've played so many Jedi mind tricks on myself to try to figure this out. And I have figured out something, and I say this to myself every time before I post. And this is for the ones that I'm choosing for me. I made this because I wanted to. It's a success because I learned something. It doesn't matter if it flops. And in fact, I'm proud of my flops. So going through those one at a time, I made this because I wanted to. This is one for me, not one for the crowd. Therefore, I'm measuring success differently. I'm not measuring success off of number of views. I'm measuring success based on whether I learned something, which, by the way, is fully in my control, and it's very inherently rewarding. Doesn't matter if it flops, because that's not how I'm measuring this one. And the last one was the hardest one for me to try to convince myself of. I'm proud of my flops. So when I post something and it gets like a really low like count or a view count and it totally underperforms everything else, I look at those numbers and I say, good. You know what? Good. I'm glad. I'm glad those numbers are so low, because it shows that I was willing to take a risk. I was willing to experiment. I was willing to push myself and grow. And in fact, I was willing to do some really unconventional stuff that isn't necessarily rewarded by an algorithm that just praises stuff that has mass appeal. And I'm proud of that. Being willing to lose followers, getting into this mindset was honestly one of the best things that I did for myself as a creator. And it's really freed me up to do better work. So I've talked about followers. Now let's talk about money. Top question is, how do you calculate your rates? There are so many formulas. There's follower count, engagement rate. What about brand whitelisting and exclusivity clauses? How long are those clauses? In what categories? It can all start to feel like a lot. I have a simpler suggestion. I call it, I stole my pricing strategy from Uber. I was told by legal that I cannot show the logo. So, I base my pricing model off of the Uber surge pricing model. When Uber is busy, it's more expensive. When we are busy, we are also more expensive. So the way it works is you choose a rate, just choose any rate that feels reasonable. You start off with that. And if you find yourself getting really busy, okay, your plate is full with lots and lots of brand deals, that is a sign that you are not charging enough. That is your sign that you need to increase your rates. The next time you get a new client, when you quote them a rate, quote them higher, and I dare you, quote them double. See what happens. And if they accept, you just doubled your rate. And maybe you operate at this new doubled rate for a while. Maybe you get busy again. Double again. And you keep doing this. And after a while, you might notice, like, okay, a lot of clients in a row are now saying, no, they're passing, I'm getting less and less busy. That's fine, that's good. That's when you know that you shot a little too high, and that's how you can lower it down. And that's how you find your true market rate. It's good when people turn you down because you quoted too high, because that way you know you're not leaving money on the table. This is the method really that I use to find my market rate, and it's what I did to increase my rates over time. There's also easy times to negotiate and hard times to negotiate. So the easy times, that's when you get a deal that you maybe don't care about as much, maybe you're not super into the creative. That's the best time for you to practice negotiating. Then there's hard times which is when you get a deal that you really want very, very badly, and you're afraid of losing the deal because what if you quote too high? Then what do you do? So here's what I say. Hi, client name. I'm so excited about this project because, and then you give your specific personalized reason. My rate for this scope is X. Okay, and then here come the magic words. Are you ready? However, I wouldn't want budget to get in the way of a great collaboration. Would love to find a way to work together. This is like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm willing to negotiate. Don't walk away just because I quoted too high. It's a classy way of putting it. They'll know to come back with you with what number they have, and then you can continue the conversation. So I've cut this part about money short because there's a really good session later today called Your Next Brand Deal. Lots of really good tips in that one. So I want to talk about one last thing, which is the future. What does it hold for us creators? Have you ever wished you were early? An early YouTuber, an early Viner, an early Instagram influencer, because those people, they had a huge advantage, right? They really cleaned up, right? We are at that time right now. We are early. Early in what? There are 3 technologies in particular that we're really early for that I also think are really exciting. And the creators on them have a pretty significant advantage. They are virtual reality, augmented reality, and AI. And I'm going to go through them one at a time. The first is VR. So you can try this today. So me and Don Allen, we actually built this whole metaverse world called Meme Mountain. And there's a building or a booth, I believe, that you can go in and actually put on the headset and try it yourself. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek of my world.
I have been short my whole life. I've always wondered, what would it be like to be tall? But I'll never know what that's like. Tired of being short, I decided to build a whole world just so I could feel tall. Really, really tall. In this world, you can change your size. You start off normal size, but then you can grow yourself and become so big that you can't even fit in the house.
I'm a giant.
And just for fun, we also made a way to shrink yourself.
No. I'm tiny. And I'm even smaller because I don't have legs.
Okay. So you can actually go in and try this. You'll put on a headset, and then you'll be able to actually grow yourself and experience what it's like to be really big and then also really, really small. I think for me, the reason why VR is really interesting is because you get to do things that simply are not possible in real life. Like I cannot feel that in real life, but when I go in VR, I can. And VR, it's also still so early. There's so few creators relative that there's so many ideas that haven't been done before. And so a lot of room to be able to try new ideas. What I recommend for beginners is there's this app called Horizon Worlds, and so it's actually the one that we used to build that world. What I recommend is going into the create mode and then just doing the tutorial. It's super, super easy. I have seen people do like crazy stuff in VR before and it looked intimidating. This is not that. Like I made this tree, okay, in like 1 minute. I have no sculpting experience. I don't know how to do this sort of thing. I just made like 3 circles and 3 cylinders, and I made it like this, and then I blew it up really big, and then I was like standing underneath the tree that I had made. It was like strangely empowering to be like the architect of your own world. So I really recommend trying it. The next one is AR. So you know on Instagram, when you see those Instagram effects, those filters, and some of them, they look really complicated. And it's like, how do they make that? Did it took a lot of code to make? How are they doing it? And I was always curious, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. And so I'm going to show you the first filter I ever made on Instagram, and I made it earlier this year. So with this filter, you can you can basically basically just walk through my drawing. It ended up actually being one of my top performing videos. This very simple video has 30 million views on this one video. Okay, wow, that's a lot of views. Yeah, the Instagram algorithm is really promoting filters right now. Disclaimer, I am not allowed to say that that's not the official word from Instagram. That was just my observation. So if you want to be a really early creator with an advantage, I really recommend looking into learning how to make Instagram filters. How do you do that? Well, that filter that I just showed you was really simple to make. It was literally just some images placed in space and then cut out some holes. And so the way you can learn is there's two apps. The really easy one is Adobe Aero. And that one, it's literally a phone app where you can just, from your phone, put a few images, and you don't need any coding experience or anything. You can just make it. Drawback of this one, though, is that the only way to open up the filter is within the Adobe Aero app. It doesn't become an Instagram filter, right? So then I recommend learning Meta Spark. Spark, it's harder to use. There's definitely more of a learning curve to it, but there's a huge advantage, which is that then you can make a filter that goes into the special Instagram algorithm that blows up and has the opportunity to get a lot of views. Okay, last one. This one I am very excited about. It's AI. There's gonna be such a creative explosion the next few years. How many of you have heard of DALL-E? Not many. Ooh, okay. DALL-E, it's like Google image search, except instead of finding an image, it will create the image from scratch, whatever you ask it. And so these images, by the way, I didn't draw them. I asked AI to draw it. I typed into DALL-E, I asked for a pencil sketch of a girl eating a donut while sitting in an airplane seat, and it drew that. And if you're not impressed by these images, it can do watercolor, it can do oil painting, it can do photography, it can do any style. I'm gonna show you a video that I did where I fed it like images of me, and then I erased my outfit, and then I combined it with a few other AI tools to make this video. Oh, so there's a tutorial for that one on my page if you want to learn how to do that. Okay, so I just have one last thing to say before I get kicked off the stage and I'm out of time. So, the best career advice that I ever got that I want to pass along is to not take anyone's advice too seriously, like especially mine. Because everyone is going to give you advice. You're going to hear lots of advice from people at this conference, from like marketing gurus on Instagram. Everyone's going to give you advice from their own life experience, from their own personality. Their strengths and weaknesses are going to be different than yours. Their moment in time where they learned that is going to be different from yours. And so really, you know, a lot of it's not going to apply to you. And so hear out the advice, but if there was anything that I said today that like doesn't resonate with you, then throw it out. Because it's really, you know, you get to pick and choose what makes sense for you. So, thank you very much.